Welcome, friends of the Greasy Shop Rag. Today we're going to take a look at a Homelite handheld blower. Customer complaint is that it won't start. There might be a problem in the fuel system. Didn't smell too good in there. Let's pull the spark plug out of here and look inside the cylinder and make sure that repairing the fuel system is going to be a worthwhile effort. We'll get our handy dandy scrunch out of here and pop that plug out. If you don't have a tool for removing spark plugs like this, I suggest getting one. And that might just be cutting a piece of fuel hose that'll slide over the end of a spark plug. But if you're going to do this on a regular basis, look how easy this is. And again, just a piece of tubing or fuel hose. You don't have to get on the Snap-on truck and buy one or anything like that. Alright, underneath this blower is a cover with a couple of Phillips head screws. Maybe there's 4 of them on here. Let's see, 2, 3. Yeah, there'll be 4 screws on this cover. And underneath that is our air filter. That filter has seen better days, and later in the video we'll get that fixed up. So just for giggles, we're going to put some fresh gas in here and see what it does. It does prime, and that's important. If you got a fuel filter in fuel and it doesn't prime, alright, so it runs, no real throttle response there. So what I was saying is, if you got a filter in fuel and the carburetor primes, that's a good sign. If it doesn't prime, then I usually walk away from them, put a new carb on it. So what I've established here is that, again, it will prime and it responds to carburetor adjustments. I'm pretty sure the metering diaphragm in here is just old and stiff, and a gasket swap is gonna get this thing going. So with that I guess false confidence, because I'm just guessing, I'm gonna make a new air filter for it. I feel that we're gonna get this thing running and back in the hands of the owner, so we're gonna go ahead and make an air filter. This stock that I'm using for the filter is just old, out-of-date Briggs & Stratton air filters, obsolete part numbers. I just keep some of that stuff around and cut these little filters out. I mean, if you got to order a filter in for this thing, it's going to cost more in shipping than the filter is worth. And it's not like there's anything special about it, you know, it's just a hunk of foam. So there's a couple of nuts that hold this air filter base plate on the machine. We'll pop those off of there. Before I take the second nut off, I'm going to pop the fuel lines off. Because I have to pry on the carburetor, it's a little easier done when it's still bolted to the cylinder. And you also might notice that I loosened the gas cap before I pop the lines off. You know, you could empty the fuel tank just because of the order that I did things here. I had fresh fuel in it yet. So now with the lines popped off of there, I can finish loosening up the carburetor. And off comes that base plate. and the carburetor itself. So let's get this cover off the carburetor here and take a look at the metering diaphragm. It's not looking good. We've got our new factory Zama carb kit. And the metering diaphragm, she's kind of stuck down there on the carburetor pretty bad, so we're going to use a razor blade to pop it off of there. Now listen to this thing here. Yeah, they're not supposed to do that. It's supposed to be soft and flexible, and when they're stiff like this, they may work enough to get the machine running, or they may not. They may not allow fuel into the carburetor because it's not pushing down on the metering lever and lifting the needle off the seat, or they may stay pushed against the metering lever and hold the needle off the seat all the time, so the carburetor floods. So there are times when people will bring equipment in and they'll complain that they can't get it started, and you'll see fuel running out of the muffler. Obviously it's flooded, but is it flooded because they left the choke on and just kept pulling? Or is it flooded because the thing has a stiff metering diaphragm that's holding the needle open? And, you know, sometimes you can guess just by a conversation with the customer if they use the thing often, or if it sits for a long time, or if I don't want to say that certain people don't know what they're doing, but if you don't do it very often, you just don't have the same experience as someone who does it all the time. So maybe you use the chainsaw 3 times in your life and now you can't get it started. There's a fair chance your starting procedure isn't right. If you're a regular user and you can't get it started, then something's probably changed and there's a problem with the saw or the blower or whatever it is. Now, where I'm going with this is that a conversation with the customer sometimes adds clues as to what might be wrong with the equipment. So we have installed, I haven't even been paying attention here, I've been babbling. Did we get both our metering diaphragm and our pump gasket in there? Kind of looks that way. I'm throwing the parts off to the side. Okay. Now when you put this back together, you got to make sure that you put the right line in the right place. The fitting on the carburetor closest to the primer bulb is usually the return line back to the tank. And the other fitting is usually going to be the one that has a filter on it, and that line coming from the tank to the carburetor. And here, the lines felt good. I just pulled them through the tank a little bit and snipped a 1/4 inch off the end so they would press onto the carburetor nice and firm and stay on there. Doing that also pulls a fresh section of line through the hole in the tank so it seals a little bit better. Now I certainly could have put new lines on it, but again, they didn't feel that bad. So our carburetor is bolted back into place. We got our air filter base plate on there. We got our new Briggs & Stratton foam air filter in there. And we'll bolt the air filter cover back on. So we'll run our screws back in through the cover here. You know, it's just going in plastic, so be careful you don't strip these out. But I'm going to fire this thing up and find out that I forgot to put the throttle linkage back on. So we'll get that back into place and give it a try and see what it does. So that's all I got for you on the Homelite handheld blower carburetor rebuild. Thanks for watching. Later.